What's up, everybody? It's your boy Joe the Show here once again with another Elite Eight Palooza Part 1, the Elite Eight games from the 2023-2024 NFL regular season. Let's get to it. Number 8, the Minnesota Vikings Week 9 win over the Atlanta Falcons, otherwise known as the Josh Dobbs game. Halfway through, after Kirk Cousins the week before blew out his Achilles, the Vikings sign Josh Dobbs, and halfway through that game, Jaren Hall gets hurt, and all of a sudden, Josh Dobbs has to come in and he has to play. And Josh Dobbs leads them on drive after drive, culminating in a last-second drive where they score a touchdown to beat the gun and win over the Atlanta Falcons 31-28. Number 7, Houston Texans, Week 9 over the Tampa Bay Bucks, 39-37. Just a couple weeks prior to this, C.J. Stroud had a game-winning potential drive go awry as he scored, but left too much time for the Falcons to come back and beat him. This time, he did it just right. In a duel between him and Baker Mayfield, where the Bucks and Texans would trade bombs in the second half, C.J. Stroud delivered the last one after the Bucks scored late in the game to go up 37-33. There was only 46 seconds left for the Texans to have an opportunity. C.J. Stroud said, 46 seconds is too much time. They score with 6 seconds left after hitting a couple deep passes to Tank Dell. C.J. Stroud finished the game with 470 yards passing and 5 touchdowns. Baker Mayfield had himself a pretty good game too, 265 yards and a couple touchdowns. But the Texans won the day, and they won the game. And C.J. Stroud stamped himself to the NFL world. Number 6, we got to go all the way back to week number 1 for this one. In a game that featured 9 lead changes, the Miami Dolphins outlasted the LA Chargers 36-34 in week 1 of the NFL season. Tua Tagovailoa and Justin Herbert put on a masterclass at the quarterback position, and also the Chargers ran the ball really well. LOL, where'd that go? Tua threw for 466 yards and 4 touchdowns, outdueling Justin Herbert and making the plays to win the game. Tyreek Hill, 215 yards to kickstart of one of the better seasons we've seen at the wide receiver position in quite some time. 2 touchdowns for Tyreek Hill as well, including the game-winning touchdown reception with less than a minute to go. The game-winning touchdown reception with less than 2 minutes to go in regulation. Number 5 on the dial. We go back to week number 12. What seems like eons ago for the Philadelphia Eagles, because it's probably when the last time this fan base felt happy. They win 37-34 over the Buffalo Bills, and that is the number 5 entrant into the Elite Eight games of the regular season in 2023-2024. This one was an epic game. The Bills got out to a 17-7 lead. Then they were up 24-14 at half. Josh Allen in a monsoon is throwing trick shots. He's running over people, all of that. But then all of a sudden, the second half comes alive, and after playing like unfermented ass in the first half, Jalen Hurts and the Philadelphia Eagles uncork 3 touchdown passes in 4 attempts to go from down at one point 17-7 to leading 28-24 midway through the fourth quarter. It was a back-and-forth affair that ended up with Jake Elliott hitting a 59-yard field goal. Did I mention this game was played in a monsoon? To tie it at 31. But unfortunately for the Bills, they would miss out on their opportunity in overtime. They would end up having to settle for a field goal. And then Jalen Hurts walked it off with a rushing touchdown in overtime. 37-34 was the final, and the Eagles won. Number 4, our first of multiple excerpts from week number 10 on a week where we finished with 6 walk-off field goals. This one was a doozy, and it is the Cleveland Browns 33, the Baltimore Ravens 31. As much as I would love to put week 10 number 1 in its own entity, I feel like that would be unfair. But this game in itself, it was amazing. That started off 40 seconds in with a Kyle Hamilton interception, the Ravens would end up getting up 14-0. They led 17-3 at one point, and then the Browns in the second half started to chip away. They got down 24-9, which was eventually their largest deficit of the game. But then they started to chip away. They ended up cutting it back, or they were down 14 again in the fourth quarter. They got a touchdown to Elijah Moore, and then a interception from Greg Newsome on a deflected pass. But Dustin Hopkins, go Noles, misses the extra point. But don't be weary. Deshaun Watson, in what ended up being his last game of the year, played one of the best games he's had as a Cleveland Brown, leading the Browns down the field after getting a stop for Dustin Hopkins, go Noles, to hit a walk-off 40-yard field goal to give the Browns a 33-31 win. Number 3, we go to the last weekend of the regular season, and we go to Saturday, where we pretty much got our first de facto playoff game of the year. And why not another CJ Stroud masterpiece to add to the list? 23-19 win for the Houston Texans in Week 18. It all started off on a big chunk. The first play from scrimmage for the Houston Texans, a 75-yard bomb from CJ Stroud to Nico Collins. And then, of course, after the Texans got up 14-3, and then in the second half, when the Indianapolis Colts ran the ball down their throat at will, it came down to the fourth quarter, midway point, 17-17. CJ Stroud would have his moment. He uncorked a final drive, not missing a pass, going all the way down the field, capitalized and punctuated by a Devin Singletary touchdown run to make it 23-17. And then, of course, the Colts infamously throw it on 4th and 1. They don't get it. But regardless, it was an exciting game that came down to the wire and gave the Texans at the time a playoff berth. But because the Jags decided to choke it away, the Texans would win the AFC South and send the Texans to the playoffs. We go back to the well of Week 10 for number 2, and that is Detroit Lions 41, LA Chargers 38. What a game this was. Back and forth, both of these two teams went, going blow for blow. And it didn't have the lead changes that it did in the other Chargers entry because the Lions were able to answer and keep pace and stay in front. But man, oh man, did both of these offenses go berserk. Goff and Herbert both throw for over 300 yards. David Montgomery has 116 yards on the ground. Amon-Ra St. Brown with 156 yards receiving. Keenan Allen with 175 yards receiving. The offenses were at full display. And on the final drive, tied at 38, the Lions go for it on 4th down near midfield. They pick it up, walks it off with a 41-yard field goal as time expires. What a game between the Lions and the Chargers. Number 1. Now, this might be controversial, but this is the most fun I had watching a game all season. And you could argue, in my opinion, this is the best quarterbacked game of the regular season. We go to Week 14. Los Angeles Rams traveling to the Baltimore Ravens. 37-31 win in overtime for Baltimore. Both of these teams went back and forth and blow for blow. The Rams gave them everything they could. Matthew Stafford in the rain, bad weather, across country, just under 300 yards and 3 touchdowns. Lamar Jackson, 300 yards through the air, 3 touchdowns, 70 yards rushing on the ground. Both of these two elite quarterbacks went blow for blow in what was the best game of the regular season, and they saved the best for last. We entered the fourth quarter, 22-20 lead for the Rams. Field goal from the Ravens to give them the lead. Answered by a touchdown with 4 minutes and 41 seconds left from the Los Angeles Rams. Matthew Stafford just throwing sidearm, trick shots, no lookers to everybody. The Ravens come right back down the field. 21-yard touchdown from Lamar Jackson to Zay Flowers. On a 3rd and 17, they connect, give the Ravens the lead. But Matthew Stafford says, I ain't with all that noise, comes right down the field in the last minute and change to tie the game. The field goal sends it to overtime, and the rest almost history. Rams get a stop, but then The Ravens get a stop. And then to end the game, Oklahoma State's finest, Tylan Wallace, houses a 76-yard punt return. Don't pay attention to the many block in the back penalties that were missed. We don't care about those. The play was cool, damn it. Tylan Wallace, touchdown, Ravens win 37-31. That is your number one game of the regular season for the NFL. All right, that is going to do it. Another Elite Eight down. Thank you for taking in all of our coverage this week. Super Bowl week, our Elite Eight Palooza. If you want more, follow us, ring the bell for notifications. Also, follow us on our Substack, our YouTube, all of that stuff to get all of our content here on the 4Frequency Seg Podcast Network. I'm Joe Winkle. Thank you for watching. Enjoy Super Bowl 58.